In today's video, we'll be having a look at the AQA GCSE Spanish role-play question, breaking it down and looking at top tips to get a grade 9. So what does a speaking exam look like? There are 3 parts to the speaking exams at the end of Year 11. The first part is a role-play question, which is worth 15 marks. The second part is a photo card question, which is worth 15 marks. And the third part is a general conversation, which is worth 30 marks. We'll be focusing on the role-play question today. For your exam, you will have 12 minutes preparation time, where you will get the chance to prepare what you're going to say for the photo card and the role-play question. In the preparation room, you'll have a piece of lined paper where you can record anything that you would like to say for those two parts of the speaking exam. You will then take that piece of lined paper into the exam with you. Your speaking exam will most likely be conducted by your teacher, and it will last between 7 to 9 minutes for foundation and 9 to 11 minutes for higher. So what does a role-play question look like? So this is an example of the role-play question. As you can see, there are 5 bullet points. One bullet point has an exclamation mark next to it, and this is where your teacher will ask you a spontaneous question. And one bullet point has a question mark next to it with a word or statement in Spanish, and this is where you are required to form a question related to the word or statement. If I were you, to make sure that you definitely get the marks for the question, I would try to include the word or phrase within the question. The role play will normally last around 2 minutes, but you don't have to worry too much because unlike the photo card, the role play is not timed by the examiner, so you can take as long as you like, within reason, of course. So tip 1 is to get to know the mark scheme. There are 2 parts to the mark scheme. Part 1 is the communication mark. The communication mark is out of 10, and each bullet point is marked individually. You can get a maximum of 2 marks for each bullet point. Let's have a look at how we can get the full 2 marks. So as you can see, it says that for 2 marks, the message is conveyed without ambiguity. All this means here is that clarity is the key thing. So it's important to make sure the sentences that you write are as clear and straightforward as possible. Part 2 is your knowledge and use of language mark. The knowledge and use of language mark is out of 5, and as you can see where it says 5 marks, very good knowledge and use of language. A little tip here is that as examiners, we are told to really look out for your verb formation. So for this one, just double check if you've conjugated the verb correctly and that it's in the right tense. Tip 2. Revise key language. On your role-play card, you will most likely come across some question words. So make sure you are familiar with these different question words in bold. We've got como, how, cuando, when, donde or a donde, where or where to, cuántas, how many. You will sometimes see cuántas personas, how many people, a qué hora, what time, qué, what, quién or para quién, who or who for. You will most likely see 1 or 2 of those question words, so it's definitely worth revising these. Looking through lots and lots of past questions, the 3 words here as well might be quite useful to you. If it says una actividad en tu instituto ayer, an activity in your school yesterday, like I was saying before, that's going to mean that you need a past tense response and you need to check those verbs. So make sure you're familiar with the word ayer, which is the word for yesterday. In the same kind of message there, mañana for tomorrow would require a future tense response. You might want to have a little look at some other time expressions for the past and future because they may come up. And finally, una razón, the word for a reason. If it asks you to give an opinion and a reason, make sure that you are giving both, otherwise you won't get the 2 marks for that bullet point. Tip 3, keep it simple. Unlike the photo card, you don't get any extra marks for developing your sentences in this part of the exam. So keeping your sentences short and simple and as accurate and clear as possible will most likely guarantee you getting the 2 marks for that bullet point. Obviously, always check that you are not required to add an extra detail, for example, a reason, but other than that, keep it short and simple. Tip 4. Work out the context. Before you start preparing your answers to the bullet points, make sure to have a quick look at the context of the conversation that you're going to be having with your teacher. For example, where I've highlighted in yellow, you are in a restaurant in Mexico. Knowing the setting is really important because that will help you make sure that you've written the right responses to the bullet points. You could be in a ticket office, a tourist office, a shop, or talking to a friend, but knowing that context really helps. Tip 5. Try these tricks for forming a question. If you feel stuck on the bullet point which gets you to form a question, maybe have a go at memorising and familiarising yourselves with these 3 sentence starters. For example, if a word came up like el gimnasio, the gym, and you couldn't really think of how to form a question, would it work if you said, ¿Te gusta el gimnasio? Do you like the gym? Or ¿Qué piensas del gimnasio? What do you think about the gym? Or ¿Me puedes hablar del gimnasio? Can you talk to me about the gym? So using one of these sentence starters can really help you out if you're a little bit stuck on that bullet point. Tip 6. Watch out for the spontaneous question. Sometimes for the spontaneous question, you are actually asked 2 questions. So always expect for there to be a second question just in case before you move on to the next bullet point. Tip 7. Repite, por favor. This is just a reminder that you can always ask your teacher to repeat information or repeat a question if you are not sure. It's better for you to really know what they are saying rather than having a guess and saying something that is not going to be clear and correct. So to finish off the video, how can you revise for the role play question? So firstly, make sure you revise all the key language that we mentioned earlier on in the video. The question words are really, really important in this part of the exam. Secondly, time yourself answering lots of different role play questions from your revision guides or from past exam papers. See if you can get to the stage where you can prepare the 5 bullet points in between 4 to 6 minutes. And finally, practice forming questions. What you'll see in the next part of the video is a little board game that I like to do with my GCSE students, where they try to form a question with each of the words in all the boxes. Hopefully that'll be really helpful.